Check, check, check. Hello, hello. What's up, everybody? John the Morgile here. Checking in for a Flat Earth, Fake Space, NASA Halloween Smacktacular. Hope you enjoy it. Let me just pop in here and make sure that the stream starts. Let me refresh this page. Nothing yet. Really? I don't want to just assume that it's going to work. Let me try refreshing it again. I don't know. Yep, got to make sure I watch this stupid ad before I start streaming. That's just crazy. So what's up, everybody? Got a lot of interesting and really quite funny stuff to talk about today. So let's see if my audio is coming through. Can y'all hear me okay? Am I loud enough? Can you let me know? Because I don't want to be too darn loud for you. Check, check, check. Boost that just a little bit. Hopefully that's loud enough for you guys. And so here we go. So first we're going to check out this ridiculous trailer that was released yesterday by NASA. It's called The Galaxy of Horrors, not to be confused with the Canadian film that came out in 2017. Jesus, come on. I'm going to have to start this over. Here we go. Now, you can't see it with your eyes. You got to have NASA's lies. How generic was that garbage? Oh my god. NASA is really jumping the shark on this crap, let me tell you. So, that's just a trailer that they released yesterday. And again, there was a movie by the same name released in Canada in 2017, so don't confuse it with that. But definitely some interesting subliminals in there. And of course, they say you can't see these stars with your own eyes. You need NASA's lies in a world with NASA's lies. Oh my God. So, reading a little bit about that trailer. Lurking beyond our solar system among the billions of stars and exoplanets. I mean, come on. That is such garbage. There was some other. I think one of the articles I read about that trailer, those are actually supposedly real planets according to NASA, but of course they had to put them on wires and strings and such. So how stupid is that? But yeah, Galaxy of Horrors. And there's some other Halloween stuff that NASA has been coming out with here lately, just like they do every year. We've got the NASA Space Telescope snaps screaming jack-o'-lantern nebula. So here's that. There's a animation to show you where they get the jack-o'-lantern from. But if you look at the actual image, no, I don't want an Amazon gift card. Stupid fucker. I mean, this image is clearly faked. It's composite. It's artwork. It's space artwork. Okay, and so I mean, they even admit, if you assume that these are real images, which that's a pretty big stretch coming from NASA, they say that this GIF of from the Spitzer Space Telescope view on Wednesday, the GIF even adds an outline of the gourd shape that caused scientists to give it the nickname Jack-o'-lantern Nebula. And it's just such garbage. I mean, if you look at this, to me it looks clearly and obviously faked, photoshopped, and who would ever know the difference, right? Because it's not like we can see these or see this far or see this distant into space with our own eyes or our own telescopes. No, we have to rely on NASA's Limobiles and space telescopes to get these sorts of images. So, oh, there was no audio on the clip. I just got a text. Really? So let's see here. I might have to replay that. Wow, thanks for the text, Dave. Appreciate that, buddy. So let's see if this works, and we'll watch it again, because it was just that good. Yeah, that should work.
The night sky, full of stars. For eons, human beings have gazed up at its tranquil beauty, taking solace in the peaceful stillness of this vast and eternal cosmic cornucopia. And yet, all the while, lurking beyond our solar system, among the billions of stars and the exoplanets that orbit them, is another sort of Milky Way altogether. A far more sinister space. A place only sophisticated space telescopes and imaging processes can reveal. A place of unequaled terrors. Come with us now, if you dare, and discover the Galaxy of Horrors. Feel the rains of terror, the killer you never see coming. With winds of up to 5,400 miles per hour.
Winds of up to 5,400 miles per hour made of glass, and we're going to believe that. And by the way, the voice of this narrator sounds so similar to me of, if you guys remember, God, I can't even think of his name, but that Flat Earth guy who like dressed up, sounded like Darth Vader and dressed up in like Mighty Morphin Power Ranger suits or whatever. Doesn't that sound like him? Anyway.
And torrential rains of glass, blowing sideways. The weather here is deadly, and don't let its cobalt blue color fool you. This hazy, blowtorched atmosphere is riddled with silicate particles, making this an unearthly death trap no mortal would dare want to face. Or discover the zombie worlds that exist in this most inhospitable corner of the galaxy, the Poltergeist planet. One of 3 dead planets shambling through the twisted magnetic fields of their corpse star Lich, which is itself the collapsed core of an exploded star. But despite its demise, this undead star spins twin beams of radiation that could incinerate a spaceship foolish enough to venture too close. Even if you could make it to the surface, your nightmares would continue as the radiation from the zombie star rains down on planet Poltergeist, as well as her neighboring dead worlds of Draugr and Phobitor, creating sickly irradiated auroras to light up your certain death. These are just a sampling of the terrible, unwelcoming worlds that inhabit our Galaxy of Horrors.
So generic. Hopefully y'all could hear that that time. But gosh, what was that guy's name? The Flat Earth Channel. He did. I know he did. Uh, sit down with Patricia Steer one time. What was that guy's name? I can't even think of it at all. He dressed like he had like I don't know different costumes he put on and I don't know that the voice is very similar, but it may be a voice modulator. Maybe that's what it is. Anyway, I just sort of noticed that, but who knows? But yeah, Galaxy of Horrors trailer from NASA just in time for Halloween. So yeah, they're definitely grasping at straws and jumping the sharks just all over the place. So back to this, this what do they call it? Jack-o'-lantern nebula. I mean, it's give me a couple hours with Photoshop and you could come up with something like this all day long. And that's exactly what they do. I mean, it's space art. That's all that it is. It's nothing more than people's imaginations. Um, and people like Matt Boylan, Matt Powerland said that he used to work for NASA doing similar sorts of space art, but according to, well, we won't even get into that, but there's people out there that will argue, oh, it's data coming into the telescope, and then scientists are interpreting the data and putting it together as as a visible image. Which segues sort of into another one of the topics that I wanted to talk about NASA lies in general, but we'll get to that in a minute. Because NASA astronauts can't see, and astronauts all over the world can't seem to agree whether space is so brightly filled with stars that you can barely pick out the constellations, or if it's so dark you can't see any stars. Half of the astronauts say one, half of the astronauts say the other, and of course they're all lying, right? It's neither one. They've never been to space. It's all lies. Um, and this isn't the only one either. I mean, they've got there's like 27 photos here in this slideshow. Hopefully, it doesn't bog us down too much, but we'll try and see what happens with it. Zombie exoplanets. Oh my goodness. So there's the trailer. Where did the Oh, these aren't the photos. Here we go. Let's see if this bogs us down altogether. Okay, so here's another Halloween, a timely Halloween NASA composite image. Jack-o'-lantern sun. They say space isn't all about happy twinkly stars. There are plenty of scary sights out there in the darkness in the form of ghostly nebula, gaping sunspots, and a distant moon that looks like the Death Star. NASA got into the Halloween mood in 2014 by releasing this fortuitous solar dynamics observatory image of the sun, showing a grinning jack-o'-lantern face. A series of active regions on the sun make it look like a cosmic pumpkin carving took place on our closest star. Clearly photoshopped images. Doesn't look real at all to me. It just appears that they've used some not even very clever photo manipulation tactics. I mean, it looks kind of sloppy to me, but, I've never been to space and gazed at the sun, so what would I know, right? Here goes another one. Hubble sees a space face, and I would say that it's a fake space face. Say that 10 times fast. NASA and ESA celebrated Halloween in 2019 with this Hubble Space Telescope view of two galaxies colliding. The smash-up and surrounding ring makes the crash look like a face with glowing eyes. And I would just mention again that you can't see any of this stuff with the naked eye or even the best telescope on the ground. You have to launch yourself up in a bottle rocket / Limobile and use NASA technology to get these images. So again, as usual, it falls into the category of unverifiable, unfalsifiable, non-demonstrable, pseudoscience, but we have to take NASA's word for it because they would never ever lie to us, right? Yeah. Here we go. The Hubble's view of the Ghost Nebula. Ooh. Man, it looks like maybe they should have called it the Schlong Nebula if you look at the top there. I wonder if Walt Disney had anything to do with this picture. You know how they like to put schlongs in the cartoons for the kids. It says Casper has some competition. The Ghost Nebula haunts the constellation of Cassiopeia in this 2018 image from the Hubble Space Telescope. The spectral appearance comes from a veil of gas and dust. So let's talk about this for a minute. Out in space, in fake space or hypothetical space, they say that it's basically, well, a near perfect vacuum. So the one big question is, how can you have clouds of gas in a vacuum with no container? Because basic laws of thermodynamics demand that any sort of gaseous body in space would instantly expand to fill its container, just like gases always do in a vacuum, which means you couldn't even have such things as nebula. Now, they have sort of patched over this big gaping hole in their entire theory with, they say that there's a sort of a uncommon or an unusual or an unfamiliar state of matter, right? So we have solid, liquid, gas, and then we have the particles that make up nebula. And you can get into that, but basically they say that it's basically frozen gases. So it is a solid, a liquid, and a gas, I reckon. But the fact remains that if you put diffuse gases in a sort of zero-G environment in a vacuum, they're always, always, always going to expand to fill to the edges of their container. And so, really, the fact that NASA comes up with these pictures of nebula proves that they're lying, because you can't have clouds in the vacuum of space. Period. You just can't. Now, the reason that they have to come up with these images and these sort of forgeries, in my opinion, is because the entire theory as to how planets and even stars are formed, they say that stars come from such nebula. Stars are birthed from such nebula, and there's just all sorts of conundrums with it. So, like, if you hand them, for argument's sake, that okay, NASA, you have a cloud in the vacuum of space, you have a cloud of gas in the vacuum of space, and certain chunks of this cloud tend to clump together thanks to microgravity, which cannot be demonstrated. And at some point, these very small conglomerations of gas particles end up becoming stars. Now, here's a big, big problem I have with that. If you have a star in the middle of this gas cloud, wouldn't the gravity of the star be sucking gas in towards it from all directions until there was no cloud left? Even if you could have that cloud to begin with in the vacuum of space, which you can't. So, I mean, it's just double and triple problems, contradictions in their very own theory. I mean, and this really does go hand in hand with the whole notion of infinite vacuum of space in general, because, I mean, we definitely have pressurized gas here on the ground in reality, 14.7 pounds per square inch near sea level. However, when you get up to the Kármán line, or the area where pressurized gas becomes space, then what exactly is holding the gas in to the planet's, surface, basically? They say that it's gravity, but the problem with that is that gravity does not behave as a solid barrier separating the atmosphere from the infinite hypothetical vacuum of space. So I would argue that the whole notion of the infinite vacuum of space is debunked by the fact that we have gas pressure here in reality. You simply cannot have gas pressure without a container to hold it in. Otherwise, that gas is going to obey the laws of thermodynamics and entropy and expand to fill its container, which would be the entire universe according to this, infinite space hypothesis, right? So just picking that one clean. Here we go. The Skull and Crossbones Nebula. Here's another one. It just looks so fake to me. I mean, this right here, that's a little filter that you put in Photoshop or, a video editing software. It's so very fake. Again, we've got this nebula, this gas cloud in the vacuum of space, which is in itself a conundrum and proof that NASA is forging these images. I mean, it is self-evident. Demonstrate to me anywhere in reality that you can have a cloud of gas conglomerated together in a vacuum. It doesn't ever happen in reality, but we're expected to believe that it occurs in space, the only place that we cannot go to verify or falsify this theory. So when when NASA sends us pictures of these sorts of things, that's pretty much good enough for most people, but it ain't good enough for me, bubba. It says the European Southern Observatory released a look at a star-forming region named NGC 2467. And by the way, somebody gets paid $250,000 a year to come up with these anagrams or whatever. In October 2018, isn't it funny how they always find these horrific nebulas and pumpkin suns right, a couple days before Halloween. It's better known as the Skull and Crossbones Nebula, thanks to its spooky face-like appearance. And I would say what's scary about this is that people actually believe this is real. That's pretty terrifying. Okay, here we go. Spiders on Mars. Spiders on Mars, huh? I don't really see the spiders, but what are we looking at here? NASA's Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter got an eye full of, quote, spiders in 2018 when it looked down and spotted these wild surface formations. The technical name for these is Araneiforms, but they're better known as just, well, spiders. NASA said that spiders are characterized by multiple channels converging at a point resembling in a spider's legs. Well, what do you know? Space spiders on Mars. Give me a damn break. All right, so here we go. Bat shadow in the Serpens Nebula. So let's see here. Yeah, okay, the bat shadow. And again, if you take a close look at this, this looks very much like composite computer-generated imaging. Doesn't look real to me whatsoever. Looks extremely fake. And again, the proof positive that it is fake is they have depicted this nebulous gas cloud in the supposed infinite vacuum of space, which yet again is a conundrum, proving that they are liars. NASA and ESA's Hubble Space Telescope team shared this evocative view of the Serpens Nebula on Halloween in 2018. So this one was right smack on Halloween, right? What are the odds of that? It showcases a set of cone-like shadows known as the bat shadow in the upper right. They look like a bat's extended wings. Well, it also looks like fake space art to me. But yeah, I guess I can see the bat wings. You remember that movie Waiting? The Batwing. Oh my god. At least they didn't put that on there. Looks like we got another spider here. What's this? Black Widow woven into space. Yet another nebula. A self-evident conundrum of NASA's lies. This creepy crawly formation in space might look like a speeder, but it's actually a nebula, known as the Black Widow Nebula. It's formed from two bubbles and acts as a nursery for baby stars. The fat body makes it look more like a jumping spider, but the Black Widow name gives it an air of danger. And I would say what gives it an air of danger is the ridiculous lies of NASA. Oh, man. Wow. I wonder how much they pay these artists to come up with these images, really. $52 million a day? I mean, that'd be worth it. I'd do it for $52 million a day, for sure. All right, here we go. So this is Eye of the Typhoon, and don't you love the beautiful curvature that cannot be observed by anyone but NASA in their Limobiles? Astronauts on the International Space Station looked down March 2015 and saw, I don't know what this has to do with Halloween, so we'll just skip it, but it's just more NASA lies and bullcrap. Okay, here we go. A bone on Mars, a thigh bone or a femur bone on Mars? Question mark? Well, we already know that Mars is actually, what was it, in Greenland somewhere? Jeranism did a real good job exposing where they faked a lot of the alleged, Mars rover shots from. And he even caught them sort of red-handed on Google Earth, out there in the middle of nowhere, faking Mars. Like, was it Greenland? I can't think of the exact place, but it was something like that. In mid-2014, the internet got very excited about the discovery of what looked like a thigh bone on Mars. NASA was quick to explain that the star of the photo is just a rock shaped by erosion caused by wind or water. I thought there wasn't any water on Mars, according to them. Sorry, folks, there's no secret alien burial ground on Mars. And I would say that Mars is a light in the sky. It is not a terra firma world that you can walk around upon. And so this is clearly a faked image. But it is interesting that, it kind of resembles a femur, but not really. Maybe like of my little Shitsa dog, maybe her femur looks like that. She's got really, really stubby joints, you know what I mean? So anyway, so what are we looking at here? Space station at night. Yeah, don't see any stars, do you? No, this isn't a still from Paranormal Activity 20, Spooks in Space. Yuck, 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 yuck. Oh my god. European Space Agency astronaut Alexander Gerst took this image as a part of a photo series showing the International Limobile, or the LISS, at night. The empty spacesuits with covers over the helmets look like a good start to a horror film. I would say if you blew the thing out of the sky, that would be a good start to the rest of our lives. Okay, here we go. Yet another nebula. They really do love these nebulas because you can pretty much do whatever you want with them. I remember one year what did they do, like a skull nebula? I haven't seen it here yet. Maybe they'll have it. Witch's head cackles in space. Oh, I see the witch's head. Yeah, there it is. There's the nose, the chin, the mouth. It does indeed look like a witch's head. It's like, here we go. I gotta play this. Hold on. Oh, it's probably gonna bog us down, but I gotta do it. Bear with me, folks. This will be worth it. Hopefully, I don't get copyright striked, but whatever.
We have found the witch. May we burn her?
How do you know she is a witch?
She looks like one.
Bring her forward.
I'm not a witch. I'm not a witch.
But you are dressed as one.
They dressed me up like this. And this isn't my nose. It's a false one.
Well,
Well, we did do the nose
the nose?
and the hat, but she's a witch.
Did you dress her up like this?
No.
No.
Yes. Yeah, a bit.
A bit.
She has got a wart.
What makes you think she is a witch?
Well, she turned me into a newt.
A newt?
Got better.
Got better.
Burn her anyway. So yeah, okay, this is definitely not a witch face in space. This is artwork. They made her look like that. They put the nose on her. They did the whole thing. I mean, the whole entire picture, the image looks absolutely fake to me. But how would we ever know, right? How would we ever know? Because again, we can't travel up there. So yeah, NASA put the nose on her just like Monty Python and the Holy Grail. I'm telling you, you can find a reference to Monty Python and the Holy Grail in pretty much anything, I promise you. Even on Jupiter, NASA scientists looked at Jupiter, and Jupiter looked right back. This Hubble Space Telescope Lie image from 2014 shows a dark pupil in the middle of an eye on the large planet. The black circle is actually the shadow of the moon Ganymede, but the timing of the photo was perfect for turning Jupiter into a space cyclops. Ooh, very spooky stuff there, NASA. Like, way to spend our $52 million a day. I mean, they must just be totally running out of vegetables to grow for the 10th time for the first time in space. So they're just coming up with this absolute nonsense. All right, a ghostly figure appears. Yeah, sure it does. Sure it does. A dark human-like shape emerges from a ghostly nebula in this Hubble image. The nebula is officially known as NGC 1999, another $250,000 for that guy who comes up with those abbreviations, and gets its bluish color from reflected starlight. The ominous dark nebula is actually a condensation of cold molecular gas and dust so thick and dense that it blocks light, NASA noted. So again, I just don't understand how you have conglomerations of gas in a vacuum. Now, they could say that it's gravity, but according to them, gravity only applies to very large spherical bodies in space, not to very small things. Otherwise, well, we'd be able to test it and observe microgravity here in reality. So, like, take a very heavy object, I don't know, a 2-ton bowling ball, a large bowling ball, and sprinkle salt all around it, or baker's flour. And if you expect the baker's flour to start, conglomerating around the surface of the ball due to gravity, well, you'll be waiting there fucking forever. And so this is a A problem because, again, gravity is what supposedly holds things together in space, but this is gas. It's little tiny particles, diffuse particles of gas. They say that it's dense, but it is not supposed to be generating gravity. So it should be, these gaseous nebulous clouds should be expanding into the infinite reaches of the hypothetical universe instantly. So it's just such nonsense. Now, I'm sure we've all seen this one. This is Cydonia, right? Face on Mars, sorry. Mars surface formations don't get more famous than the face on Mars. Yeah. NASA's Viking 1 orbiter lied and took this original image in 1976. It showed a mound with what looks like 2 eyes, a nose, a mouth, and an interesting hairdo. Alien theorists got excited about the possibility of a monument on Mars. And again, I would just say that, Mars is a light in the sky. It is and it's nothing akin to the Earth. The Earth is one of a kind. The physical plane is nothing like the lights in the night sky, and the lights in the night sky are nothing like the physical plane of reality. And so, this is clearly faked. How did they do it back in the 70s? Who knows? But I'm sure that they had the ability to fake this sort of thing with their multi-million-dollar per day budget. I mean, they could have probably done a lot better, to be honest. But hey, what can you do, right? Pulsar as a ghostly hand. I mean, does any of this stuff? And I'll leave a link for this in the description after after we get done with the stream. But does any of this stuff look real at all? It looks like photoshopped images to me. That's exactly what it looks like, and very colorful, yes. Interesting to look at, but fake nonetheless. A pulsar looks at the center of this 2009 image from NASA's Chandra X-ray Observatory. The pulsar is a rapidly spinning neutron star which is spewing energy out into the space around it to create a complex and intriguing structures, including one that resembles a large cosmic hand. NASA notes the disembodied phantom-like hand looks to be grasping at the void. So, it's just so many problems. I mean, again, I don't want to keep saying the same thing, but they're saying that this pulsar is spewing out gas into space. Well, that isn't a nebula, is it? That isn't the same kind of frozen gas conglomerates that we have in nebula, as they say. This is just gas in space. So how does that work? I mean, really, if you can show me one practical experiment where you can have a cloud of gas in a vacuum chamber, I'd love to see it. But I can guarantee you'll never find it, so don't even bother. I mean, don't take my word for it. Go ahead, look, see if you can find any real-world example of gas behaving this way in reality. Absolute nonsense. Now that looks like a sunflower to me. That's kind of pretty. What are we looking at here? Gaping maw of a sunspot. The sun is an active place with filaments, holes, and flares. It's a flaming sun, constantly shifting across its face. This is a close-up look at a dramatic sunspot as seen by the Big Bear Solar Observatory's telescope in 2010. It might remind you of staring into the gaping, toothy mouth of the Sarlacc pit from Star Wars. Oh, God, I can't even watch Star Wars anymore, let alone read the words. Don't worry, it won't eat the Earth. This sunspot is a long time gone now. So just absolute nonsense, ridiculous-looking garbage that people will believe because NASA would never lie. Never. Well, we'll inspect that position here in a little while, but we still got some more of these photos to look at, or these fakos. Phantom clouds in the darkness. Now that is pretty creepy, but I would say it also is very fake as well. Oh, here we go. So another $250,000 for the guy that comes up with these abbreviations. Nebula IRAS 05437 plus 2502. I think he got a bonus for that one because it's like 10 characters longer than the other one. So he really was hard at work on that. It doesn't have a very catchy name, but it certainly looks like a frightening formation in space. Stare at it long enough, and you might see a phantom rise up from the black of the dust clouds. Ooh. NASA and ESA's Hubble Space Telescope took this lying image in 2010. Scientists are unsure what causes the bright glowing arc near the center. Well, I would say that what causes the bright glowing arc near the center is Photoshop. Pretty simple. Alright, so here goes the Death Star moon. Death Star near Saturn. Saturn has over 60 moons, but none of them resemble a deadly Star Wars spacecraft quite like Mimas does. Mimas earned the Death Star moon nickname thanks to a large, round crater that looks like the super laser focus lens of the Darth Vader spacecraft. The clear view of Mimas came from NASA's Cassini spacecraft during a close flyby of the moon in 2010. So I would add again, this is nothing that you will ever even come close to seeing with the naked eye or with the highest powered telescope in the world. Even Lucifer, that's owned by the Catholic Church, I believe in South America, even Lucifer telescope can't see this. You have to have a space telescope, right? And, we already give all of our $52 million a day to NASA, so we can't afford us no space telescope now, can we? Huh. Fuckers. Alright. What are we looking at? Skull Nebula around a dying star. Planetary Nebula NGC 246, he only got paid $100,000 for that one, has a much more Halloween-y nickname, the Skull Nebula. It's located 1,600 light years away from and surrounds a dying star. It may take an active imagination to see a skull, but it is most definitely a ghostly-looking galactic creation. Yeah, I definitely see the skull, and it looks like Photoshop work to me. I mean, it really truly does. This is something that you could come up with very easily with basically no budget. But this is what we're paying NASA for, guys. This is what we're giving them $52 million every single day to produce is fake space, Libobiles, and indoctrination into belief in a spinning ball Earth. Eye of Sauron. Oh, goodness. This might look like the Eye of Sauron from Lord of the Rings, but it's actually a Hubble Space Telescope image showing a planet called Fomalhaut B orbiting a star. This is, quote, the first visible light snapshot of a planet circling another star, NASA said in 2008, release on the Discovery. So, now wait a minute. Visible light snapshot of a planet circling a star. Not really seeing anything that looks like a planet, but I mean, if it's a totally fake image, then how can you critique it other than saying, well, this looks fake to me, and there's no way that anyone will ever verify that this is indeed a real image. Never in a million years. Ugh. Okay, looks like we got a little animation GIF here. What happened? There it goes. Oh, did you see the skull? Ooh, skull asteroid. Why are there asteroids in the hemisphere and hemorrhoids in my ass? That's what I want to know. On Halloween in 2015, a spooky asteroid passed harmlessly by Earth, but it left a lasting impression thanks to its skull-like appearance and radar imagery. This GIF shows the asteroid turning in space. Note the darker areas that look like two hollow eyes. Yeah, and this could never be faked in a million years. I mean, come on. Like, it's a low-resolution GIF, and we're supposed to accept this as evidence of asteroids in space or hemorrhoids in my ass. No, I'm kidding. Now, what are we looking at here? God, how many more of these are there? Oh, okay, so there's 5 more after this. The Tarantula Nebula. Not really seeing the tarantula. I guess I kind of do, but that's a bit of a stretch. And yet another nebula. You already know my feelings on the nebulae. The Tarantula Nebula gets its name from what the European Space Agency describes as spindly, spidery filaments of gas. This Hubble Space Telescope image from 2017 shows the Crawley Nebula, but there's a guest star in this picture as well. The bubble-like honeycomb nebula appears in the lower left corner of the image. So just more razzle-dazzle, fictitious, composite, computer-generated images. It is space art. And, I don't know what else to say other than we know that they're lying about this stuff, guys. We really do. And the fact that they keep coming out with these ridiculous images right around Halloween and sometimes right on Halloween is a testament to the fact that they're really, they're really trying to keep public interest going. I mean, don't you remember, like, during the Apollo missions, after the first few, people were complaining because the NASA astronauts were doing fake spacewalks during reruns of I Love Lucy? And so they basically they had to come up with the whole Apollo 13 debacle, which did glean some more public interest in NASA. But I mean, that's all they're doing. They're trying to bolster public interest in NASA. But anyway, what are we looking at here? Telltale Nebula. NASA celebrated Halloween in 2016 with this spectral view of the Crab Nebula from the Hubble Space Telescope. A dead neutron star lies inside of the wispy nebula. I bet it does lie. I bet it lies all the time. This led NASA to reference the classic Edgar Allan Poe story, The Telltale Heart, a spooky tract about a murderer who can't stop hearing a dead man's heartbeat. Well, that was a good short story, but a really crappy connection here. Look, you know what it looks like to me? It looks like someone is smoking a blunt, and they took a picture at their ceiling as they're smoking a blunt, and then they added in some stars later. That's what it looks like to me. And then, maybe did some transformation tools in Photoshop to give it, whatever features they decided they wanted, or whatever they were feeling that particular Halloween, right? Scary stuff. And, there's a video of this, but, yeah, so NASA astronauts, they're so busy up in space doing science that they have time and the money to fly around in gorilla suits on the space station. I mean, one of their whole big shticks is that it's something like $1 million per pound of cargo that they launch up into space and put on the space station. $1 million a pound. So, really, was this necessary? Was the gorilla suit really necessary, NASA? Or could you have done your sciencing without the gorilla suit? I mean, give me a freaking break. Gorilla on the space station. You might look at this video still and wonder if it's from some future Planet of the Apes movie where the apes go to space. Oh God, please don't give them any ideas, please. This is actually from a 2016 video showing NASA astronaut Scott Kelly wearing a gorilla suit while on board the International Limobile. A supply ship delivered the suit into orbit as part of a care package. So, yeah, fresh water, fresh food. No, we need gorilla suits and guitars and flutes and everything up in space because, this is flying around in a gorilla suit is way more important than lions. So let's see if we can get that video because it is an interesting watch. Scott Kelly gorilla suit. Here we go. So he's definitely suspended from something, and they just CGI'd out the harness. That's how they fake the interior shots of the ISS. Exterior shots are shot definitely in a pool where we can see air bubbles in space and all kinds of anomalies that shouldn't occur in space. So here he goes, unbox. I mean, look at this thing. It took up that much space, and I guess maybe he unaccordioned it or whatever. But I mean, is that really necessary? I mean, do we really need to spend millions of dollars to send this fucking guy a gorilla suit in space? How ridiculous is that? Wow. Like they should play the Benny Hill theme song while they're doing it. It might be a little bit funnier. Okay, so we've seen about enough of gorillas in space, right? That's just terrible, NASA. Where are we at here? Of course, this computer's going to bog down. Let me check on the stream, make sure we're still going, because the last thing I want to do is be sitting here talking to myself looking at NASA videos, right? Okay, so where are we at? Here it is. Let's just make sure we're still good on the stream. Audio coming through.
Pit
yep.
from...
Wow, it's really quite far behind, isn't it? It's like 5 minutes behind where I'm actually speaking, so that's a bit of a lag, but okay. So we'll carry on. We've seen the trailer. I'll probably cue that trailer up one more time for the end because I know there's a lot of people that probably popped in and didn't get to see it in the beginning, so we'll play that again in the end. So, gorilla suit on the space station. What a waste of money. If you believe their lies about how much it costs to pretend to send things into fake space, then what a waste of money, right? So what are we looking at here? Is that a armadillo on Mars? That's pretty spooky. Oh, Bigfoot skull on Mars. I don't know about that, but okay. NASA's Curiosity rover snapped this image in May of 2016 of a pretty typical Mars landscape. If you squint at the rock circled in red and let your imagination run wild, and you really have to let your imagination run wild to look at NASA's images, then you might agree with some alien enthusiasts who think it looks like a Sasquatch skull. But it isn't. It's fun to imagine a lost tribe of Bigfoots, or Big Feet, running around on the red planet. Yeah, it's fun to imagine a lot of things. It's fun to imagine that I poop lollipops and fart rainbows, but what good does that do us at all? I don't see the resemblance here of the Bigfoot skull, but whatever. Oh, wow. So we've got the all-seeing eye in space. Let's see here. Yet another nebula, I'm sure. Eye on the Hourglass Nebula. Wow, these ads are just notorious. Okay, the Hubble Space Telescope appeared at the Hourglass Nebula in '96 and caught the nebula peering back. This startling image shows something that looks a lot like a wide-open eye at the center of the nebula. Yeah, so I guess the guy who did this space art was in the Illuminati, right? According to NASA, one theory is the hourglass shape is produced by the expansion of a fast stellar wind within a slowly expanding cloud, which cannot exist in a vacuum, by the way. The cloud which is more dense near its equator. Like, really, how do you have a varying density cloud in the vacuum of space, NASA? I mean, come on, how gullible do you really think we are? They say that the gas is more dense near its equator than near its poles. We can probably all agree this would make for an awesome blacklight poster. Yeah, that's about it. It probably would make for an awesome blacklight poster. But, it's certainly not science. Science is demonstrable and testable and, most importantly, falsifiable, which, of course, this is not. I'm feeling like this is the last one. No, maybe there's one more after this, but this is the Ghost Head Nebula. Oh, man. Ghost Head Nebula. Boo! Stare deep into this image of the Ghost Head Nebula, and you'll see two bright, quote, eyes staring back. The Hubble team describes these spots as very hot, glowing blobs of hydrogen and oxygen. Yeah. And I'm sure that somebody went out to the Ghost Head Nebula and took samples of the impossible cloud in the vacuum of space to render the results that we know that they're blobs of hydrogen and oxygen. Yeah, whatever, NASA. Such liars. Okay, so that was the last one. I was correct. So let me close this window out because this computer is bogged down a bit. And yeah, it looks like we're still live, so that's good. Located, still got audio. Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. What's up in the chat? Count, hey, Rhetoric, Yellow-Eyed Canine, Christopher Brady, Karen B. What's up, girl? Laugh my ass off, right? Bigfoot skull on Mars. That's so ridiculous. Good Servant, Count, Zoom Truth. What's up, everybody? So we're going to continue on. That was, I think that was the end of the Halloween stuff, but I've got a bunch of other stuff that I wanted to talk about. Because if I'm going to come here live and tell everybody that NASA's lying, well, maybe I should have a little bit more ammunition than just their clearly faked and impossible images from fake space. Right? So, close out some of these. Oh, there's the posters for the... Oh, no, I'm sorry. I thought those were posters for the Galaxy of Horrors, but those are different posters. Zombie exoplanets. What a freaking joke. And we looked at the photo galleries. What are we looking at here? Yeah, so that's done. Just closing stuff out here, guys. All right, we looked at those. And we'll look one more time at this. This one's from yesterday. This one here is allegedly from yesterday. I'm getting another text in, so let me just make sure that nothing went south on the stream, because you never know. No, it looks good. Okay, so yeah, this one here is allegedly from yesterday. I'd like this to randomly pop up as the thumbnail, so I'll try to leave it on this for a minute while I talk about a few things. Maybe I'll get lucky with that thumbnail. So, okay, NASA isn't just a liar because they fake space now. NASA, from the get-go, has always been a liar. They started as a propaganda agency, arm of the U.S. military, and fledgling NASA was indeed staffed and very much headed up by literal Nazi scientists that were smuggled from Germany post-World War II. They avoided the kangaroo courts and got very, very cushy jobs with NASA. Now, I've said this before, but regardless of how you feel about the Nazis, I know there are mixed emotions about the Nazis. Regardless of that, the American people who just lost husbands, brothers, sons, and daughters in World War II against the Nazis would have been, well, let's just say they would have been fucking pissed if they'd have learned that our government, just a few years afterwards, was literally smuggling Nazi scientists, many of them high up SS officers, including Werner von Braun, into the country, giving them basically not even new identities. They just sort of whitewashed any of the negative things that they would have been tried for in the kangaroo courts, and gave them very cushy and well-paying jobs at fledgling NASA. And, one thing that we do know about the Nazis, whether you love them or hate them, is that they were masters of propaganda. They had it down to a science, and in fact, prior to World War II, the United States and Germany were in fact allies. Most of you guys already know that. They were allied in all sorts of things, especially the sciences or the alliances. Eugenics was a big thing in common that America and Germany had back in the day. So, like, they if somebody was deemed to have bad genes, they would just sterilize them, right? They would just make sure that you're not going to reproduce. And Germany thought that America's eugenics program was brilliant. And of course, that alliance between the United States and Germany didn't cease after World War II. And the proof of that is the fledgling founders, or the fledgling higher-ups at NASA, like Werner von Braun, and literally like over 1,000 Nazi scientists were brought over just in Operation Paperclip. Now, I will mention that Operation Paperclip is one operation that the United States government admits to. So this isn't a theory. This isn't something that we've come up with and we believe. It is admitted. It's declassified. Operation Paperclip is a fact, and it is acknowledged by the U.S. government as such. Now, the thing is, though, is what other sort of deep budget, black budget projects shipping, Nazi scientists over to America were there other than Paperclip that are not acknowledged by NASA? And that's a pretty interesting question, because I would be willing to bet that Paperclip is just sort of the the expose light of what the degree of the type of things that America was actually doing. So they gave with Freedom of Information Act stuff or whatever, they gave researchers Paperclip and kept the full house of stuff back, and probably will never even hear about it. But Paperclip is admitted, at least. And yeah, Werner von Braun, the head of NASA, was, or at least he was the head of the V2 rocket program. There you go. I mean, it's a known fact, right? It's not speculation. So, after NASA started, we had this whole Cold War thing, and I would mention too the Sputnik satellite scare, which to me proves collusion between Russia, or the former Soviet Union, USSR, proves collusion between Russia and America at the very least. Because if you guys remember, the Sputnik satellite was seen flying overhead America several times, and basically the propaganda arms of the media outlets basically put it in people's head that we should be very, very, very afraid of Russian satellites flying overhead because, well, who knows what they could do. And so in response to Sputnik, NASA, and well, I don't know if it was NASA quite yet at the time, but the precursor to NASA was given basically carte blanche and a huge budget in order to kick off the space race with Russia. And I would also mention that the Cold War entails the threat of MAD, or mutually assured destruction, nuclear holocaust. But the problem is well, according to me, nuclear bombs do not exist. In fact, atoms do not exist, and therefore atom bombs, or splitting of non-existing atoms, cannot exist either. I will mention real quick that a lot of people on YouTube out there, even some pretty mainstream channels, are covering this whole Seattle thing for 11/3, so that's in like 4 days. According to things like The Simpsons and movie posters, Seattle, Washington is going to be attacked on November the 3rd. Now, one thing I've said before, and I'll say it again right now, is although nuclear bombs do not exist, according to me, and there is quite a bit of data and research to back this claim up, it's sort of not germane to this talk, but they certainly can detonate hundreds or even thousands of tons of TNT, which is how nuclear bombs or hypothetical nuclear bombs are measured. So like if you have a 1 megaton nuclear bomb, that's equivalent to, what is it, 1,000,000 tons or 1,000 tons of TNT. And so I wouldn't put it past certain elements of the government or whatever to do something like a fake nuclear attack on Seattle or any city, pick one, in order to cement the idea of nuclear holocaust into future generations' subconscious, as well as to to just, kick off martial law. But again, this is all speculative. I'm not saying anything's going to happen on 11/3. The Simpsons have been sort of prophetic in the past, but it doesn't prove anything. I mean, it certainly remains to be seen, and I will not be surprised whatsoever if 11/3 goes down, just like any other day. Although, who knows, man? I mean, 9/11 came out of nowhere, and did I just say that on YouTube? I guess they're going to shadow ban me. Whatever, they're doing it already. So we talked about the Russian space agency. Here's the thing: space is equally as fake in America as it is in Russia, and I would add that space is even fake in China too. There's a lot of globe earthers out there who have the position that, if NASA were lying about space, then Russia and China would call them out on their bullcrap. Well, I'm here to tell you that NASA and the Russian space agency Roscosmos have been in bed together and basically in collusion with one another since prior to the Cold War. And again, the evidence of that is clear with things like Sputnik, clear with just all kinds of things. I mean, there's so many examples that you can give that Russia, and even now to this day, I mean, the International Space Station has Russians and Americans and Chinese on it. So, I mean, they're faking space together, folks. So yes, indeed, space is fake in China too. Space is fake in Singapore. Space is fake in Brazil. Space is fake in Timbuktu and everywhere else, okay? So, and I did mention that, NASA, you'd think that they would get their story straight when it comes to things like space. So we're looking at this image here of infinite space and all of the brightly lit stars. But NASA astronauts and astronauts from all over the world, they can't agree as to whether or not you can actually see any stars in space, from space, or whether there are millions of extra stars in space which prevent you from picking out the constellations because of all of the extra stars. I mean, it is comical, and I don't want to get a copyright strike, but I know that there's in fact, I did a video on this a while back, so let me search my channel and I'll try to play a clip from this because, it's comical. It really is. It's comical to me that for the amount of compartmentalization and the budget and the control that NASA has over, their environment, you would think that they would have their astronauts get their stories straight, right? So let's see here. Let's see if I can find this video right quick for you guys because it's ridiculous. It's so funny. Okay, search my channel. Maybe this will find it. Yeah, here we go. Fake Space and International Conspiracy video from about a year ago. And I'll just try to play some clips out of this because...
Tony Robbins and Dean, listen, we have a question for you. What are you going to do when winter comes? Now, this is not an HBO special.
We'll just skip ahead a bit. Oh, here we go. Snorkels in space. I gotta play that clip. It's that space is fake, even in China.
Some drama at NASA now. There will be several spacewalks who attend to a major problem, and this time they're using snorkels while they do it.
That's not exactly what I wanted to play, but here we go. So let's get the clip of the astronauts who can't seem to agree on whether or not they can see stars in space. Oh, and here we go. This is And I can't believe they copyright struck this. I mean, this is supposed to be scientific, free information, but they actually copyright struck this portion of the video because of that Ed guy. What's his name? Ed Gain. No, that's not it. Yeah, the first spacewalk was just as fake as the spacewalks they do today. I mean, look at how claymation this shit looks. I mean, does this look real at all to you guys? The first spacewalk.
Okay, I'm separated from the spacecraft.
Look how generic that
Ed
is.
White is flying
Ed
at
White.
17,000 miles per hour, 200 miles above the Earth.
Okay, I'm out.
Okay, I'm out.
If the spacesuit
Now, okay, now I want you to pay attention. Look at the orientation of his body. He's in space, floating around, and again, it looks very claymation, like stop motion animation to me here. But okay, so his feet are pointing up. He's vertically oriented this way, with his head facing like out into space. Now, in the next second, what you're going to see is a little glove flies out from the capsule. And as soon as it comes into frame, you hear Ed White say, "Oh, there's my glove," like as if he's looking for gloves. He's way over here, 30 feet away in space. Never been in space before. This is the first time anyone's ever been in a spacewalk, and yet he's paying attention to what's going on way down here with this glove that's about to pop into frame. It's just absolutely choreographed, ridiculous, pre-recorded nonsense.
fails, the difference in pressure will kill him instantly. If the lifeline fails, he'll literally be lost in space.
The International Space Station.
Okay, I guess it skipped it. Hold on, let's go back to it, because I know I've got it in here, unless they copyright struck it out and I had to get rid of that part. Maybe that's what it was. Yeah, here we go. This is it. Oh, but this is a good one too, I think. Let's just play this, man. There's some good shit.
Cabin pressure is holding steady after the crew conducted repair work on one of two Russian Soyuz spacecraft attached to the complex.
His hand went through the pole he was grabbing
address
onto. Like, pay attention to the guy's left hand that grabs onto this pole right here. His hand goes right through it.
After the crew conducted repair work on one of two Russian Soyuz spacecraft attached to the complex.
You see that shit?
The repair was made to address a leak that had caused a minor reduction of station pressure. The crew was never in any danger.
If the spacesuit fails, the difference in pressure will kill him instantly. If the lifeline fails, he'll literally be lost in space.
After a morning of investigations, the crew reported that the leak was isolated to a hole about 2 millimeters in diameter in the orbital compartment.
Yeah, okay, so you can have a hole in the space station that doesn't affect pressure much. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. But if you get a tiny pinprick in your spacesuit, you're going to die in space instantly.
Or upper section of the Soyuz MS-09 spacecraft.
I did want to find that
Flight
one
controllers in
particular
Houston
clip.
and Moscow worked together with the crew to effect.
Where is it? Sorry, y'all. I know I'm jumping around a bit here. It is in this spacewalk where he loses his glove and he's like... Oh, I guess I've got it a third time, way over here. Alright, there's the glove shot right here. Here we go.
Notice that in this live broadcast.
Okay, I rolled up, rolling right now. Under my own, here goes looks like a thermal glove.
Looks like a thermal glove, Jim. You see that? As soon as it breaches, as soon as the glove prop comes into frame, this guy that's out here floating around in space really probably should be worried about dying. No, he's looking off into space, but somehow he's able to see this little glove instantly as soon as it comes into frame. So let's just watch that again. And sorry for the YouTube made me cut out the majority of this clip, and I had to sort of mess with the audio a little bit so that it wouldn't be picked up by their automation. But Just look at it again and pay attention when this glove comes into frame. He instantly knows, oh, it looks like a thermal glove, Jim, as if that's what he should be concerned with when he's on the first spacewalk. I mean, how obvious can you get that that was basically a little Easter egg that they put in there to deflect people's attention away from the fact that he looks like one of the skeletons in Jason and the Argonauts, the original, claymation, stop-motion animation.
Facing up into space, and then somehow the glove gets loosed from inside the Limobile, and he notices it immediately and says, oh, there goes my glove. He wasn't even looking anywhere near that direction. Wouldn't his glove shouldn't that be on his hand, by the way? But anyway, wouldn't that glove be the least of his concerns when he's out flying around in space?
Under my own influence, there goes a... Looks like a thermal glove, Jim. It is.
I mean, he's not even oriented where you would suspect that he could see that. I mean, his face is up here, and these spacesuits. So let's talk about the spacesuits for a minute. These spacesuits should not be flexible at all in space, okay? Because you're supposedly in a vacuum, high pressure inside of the suit, and so basically it would completely constrict your movement. Okay, if you could even do such a thing. And so the notion that he's somehow, tilting his head up to pay attention to this glove for some reason, it really doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But, again, it's just scripted stuff that they put in there. So this is the clip that I came to this video for to begin with. It has to do with, again, astronauts disagreeing on whether or not they can see stars in space. So let's check that out.
Stars. They're all around you. They're not twinkling at all.
We were never able to see stars from the lunar surface or on the daylight side of the moon by eye without looking through the optics. I don't recall during the period of time that we were photographing the solar.
And now, I'm sorry, but these guys just got back from the first alleged moon landing mission. Now, why do they all look like their cats just died today? Really? Why shouldn't they be excited, elated, happy to be alive? Coming back with astonishing stories of the first men ever to walk on the moon. No, maybe all three of their cats actually died that day, and that's why they all look so suspicious.
What stars we could see. I don't remember seeing any.
The heavens are 10 times as bright, stars 10 times as numerous, because there's no atmosphere to block the light.
When you looked up at the sky, could you actually see the stars and the solar corona?
I don't remember seeing any.
No stars there either. Oh, but it's the reflective light of the moon preventing you from seeing the stars, right? Oh, the rover on Mars. I mean, the rover on the moon. They must have been there. $75 million rover right there, or thereabouts. 75
That's
million.
a great question. The most unexpected thing, I think, was the blackness of space, because we always talk about seeing the view of planet Earth and how beautiful it is, and so you come to expect that. But what people don't mention that much is just when you look the opposite direction and you see how dark space is. I mean, it's the blackest black, and you realize just how small the Earth is in that blackness, and that was a real surprise to me.
The blackest black. Okay, so now we've got 3 different astronauts. Actually, if you count all the Apollo astronauts, there's 3, plus there's 5 astronauts that all saying that you cannot see the stars from space. Okay.
When I look out at the stars and I see, so many stars and planets, and know that, we have a place in the universe.
So astrolayer Katie Couric says that she can see so many stars and planets out there in the blackness of space, but this directly contradicts what all of those other astrolairs just said.
And it's part of our job is to explore that place.
Whilst in space, Have you ever looked away from Earth into the black void?
Because you can see, because you can see the stars.
Oh yeah,
You know, and pretty much all the time you can see the stars.
It's not a black void. I mean, it's black, but there's all kinds of little polka dots.
There's all the stars there.
Okay, so they disagree with the Apollo astronauts as well. So they're on the same side of this fence as Katie Couric. The other 5 astronauts disagree with that. Okay, so we've got so far 5 say they can't see stars and 3 say that they can.
The cool thing is about you can see it during the day.
Yeah, you can, and there's more than stars. You can see planets. You can see moons.
You see the gas Magellan clouds of the Milky
you
Way
see
galaxy.
the Magellanic clouds.
Magellanic. See, I just wanted the Magellan
there's a large
clouds.
one
I didn't
and
want
a
to
small one, right?
Yeah.
And then you can see the zodiacal lights.
Whoa.
But could you tell us something about what the sky actually looks like from the moon, the sun, the earth, the stars, if any, and so on?
The sky is a deep black when viewed from the moon, as it is when viewed from cislunar space, the space between the Earth and the moon.
The sky is almost white.
Almost light. Now this guy here, his name escapes me, I should know it, but this one here, he actually disagrees with his own self. Okay? So maybe it's actually his mustache disagreeing with him, right? But no, in one clip he says that the sky is almost light with stars, and then in the next clip he's going to say that the sky was like so dark black it's like a black velvet. So let's kick this one off one more time and I'll let it roll.
The sky is almost white with the light of the universe, with the uncountable number of stars. But it has a lot of variation to it, even just with the naked eye, when we're in the shade of the Earth, so we can really see it. You can see the whole dark sections where there's dark matter or dust or whatever it is that's between us and the rest of the universe. You can see the gradations of it, like looking into the deepest ocean.
Looking into the deepest ocean of light and stars. Okay, that's what he just said.
What are the stars like in space? Like, are they just brighter than on Earth, or how would you describe it?
They're brighter, but they're different. And a lot of things different about them. One, you don't have the atmospheric distortion, so they don't twinkle right. So you see lots of points. And you see lots of points, and that literally millions of them.
Okay, so he agrees that you see millions of points of light. That's a different astronaut. But the first one that I just said that his mustache disagrees with him, I know I've got it in here, where he actually disagrees with himself. So, but
there's the thing about Carl Sagan, billions of stars. There really are billions and billions of stars, and you can see them. In fact, they're so numerous, it's very difficult to pick out the constellations you and I see here on the ground.
With the world right there, and then when you look the other way, it's the whole universe, and the blackness is a palpable blackness. It's not just dark; it's forever. And the guy named Paul Fjeld designed our mission patch.
So that's the same guy just a couple clips ago, and I think I actually cut them both together, so I juxtaposed one right after the other here in a second. But first he said that there's millions of points of light in space. Now he's saying it's a deep black. So he can't even get his own story straight.
And he's, had a really nice design. And he said, "What color do you want for the background?" And we said, "Black, but really black." And he said, "What do you mean, really black?" I said, "Well, I don't know, black as you can make it." So he hit the black as you can make it. And we went, "Well, that's black, but it's not the same as the endlessness of the universe."
You don't see stars in the daytime on Earth, not because they're not there, but because the atmosphere is aglow with scattered light from the sun. If you take away the atmosphere, the sun will still be there, but the sky goes dark. That's what the folks get when they go to the edge of the atmosphere, and they're calling that the edge of space. But when you get to the edge of the atmosphere is no longer between you and the rest of the universe, and the stars reveal themselves just as they would at night. Since the moon has no atmosphere, then a daytime picture, if you're there in the daytime of the moon, you see a full night sky of stars, even with the sun in the sky as well.
Okay, so Neil deGrasse thinks that you can, what did he just say? I got lost in the frickin' techno jargon, but what exactly did he say? Let's hear it again.
Would at night. since the moon has no atmosphere, then a daytime picture, if you're there in the daytime of the moon, you see a full night sky of stars.
Okay, so Neil deGrasse, even though he never even claims to have been to space, he believes that you can see all the stars in broad daylight from space. Okay, disagreeing with half the astronauts, agreeing with the other half, but this is what Neil deGrasse says. Even during the day, on the day side of the Earth, in space, you can see all the stars. Now, let's hear what an astronaut has to say about that.
Even with the sun in the sky as well.
Just hanging there in a vast sea of darkness, and the most frightening darkness that you could ever imagine.
The sunlight washes out all the starlight, so you can't see any stars. Just like
Okay, so this astronaut says the sunlight washes out all the starlight, so you can't see any stars. So, like, which is it? I mean,
like here on Earth.
Just the inherent beauty of it, the velvet, bottomless bucket of the universe.
The sky, of course, was black, but it had sort of a velvet sheen to it.
The biggest visual surprise was just how black the sky was. You have a brilliant sun, brighter than any sun you normally would see even here in New Mexico. You have these extraordinarily high mountains. We were in a valley deeper than the Grand Canyon. But then you have this black sky, a sky blacker than black, as the old Vidicon expression used to be.
I'm trying to explain the difference between darkness, when you turn out the lights and it's dark in here, or blackness. Blackness is the endlessness of it all. It's hard to comprehend.
Well, the sign on the bottom of the gondola was, "This is the highest step in space." Think about being at 102,000 feet. It was a very interesting experience for me to sit there and look at the horizon, and I could see over 400 miles from that altitude. My guy on the ground said, "Okay, we're over the position, you're clear to jump." And I jumped. I fell for, it seemed like I wasn't moving at all. There was no crystal velocity. There's nothing you can see. So I rolled over my back, I looked up, and I saw the balloon flying into space.
Now, real quick, on this clip, this is supposedly the first high-altitude jump from a weather balloon.
Bottom of the gondola was, "This is the highest step in space." Think about being
Of course, you've got the fisheye lens effect to create the illusion of curvature from that shot. So I do believe that this was a real shot. Perhaps he actually did jump from a weather balloon, but it's a very easy trick of basically a fisheye lens camera, wide-angle fisheye lens camera, that causes this curvature to appear. But we already know that from over 100,000 feet from, amateur weather balloon footage, which is just about as high as he was, there is no such curvature. So this is deliberately faked. Deliberately. Clearly was.
102,000 feet. It was a very interesting experience for me to sit there and look at the horizon, and I could see over 400 miles from that altitude. My guy on the ground said, "Okay, we're over the position, you're clear to jump." And I jumped. I fell for, it seemed like I wasn't moving at all. There was no crystal velocity. There's nothing you can see. So I rolled over my back, I looked up.
Notice how that curvature disappeared for this shot, so that's pretty interesting.
And I saw the balloon flying into space.
Okay, here we go. I believe this was in Brazil, and I've had a couple of conversations back and forth with a few people on email and such about, one guy in particular, he sets up satellite dishes, and he couldn't understand how weather balloons could behave as satellites, since all the dishes are basically pointing at the same place and they never need to be adjusted. And his understanding was that weather balloons would necessarily drift from a singular spot. And what I would say is that if they're using an array of high-altitude weather balloons with very, very sophisticated technology aboard, they could actually very easily remain stationary relative to the ground below. And if you have an array of them, even if they do misalign to their original position a little bit, it's not going to affect something like satellite dishes pointed in that general vicinity. So here's one of those down to what I believe is proof of the fact that satellites are indeed attached to weather balloons, certainly not orbiting the Earth some 20,000 miles in altitude, because that's what they claim the geostationary satellites are. They claim that the geostationary satellites, communication satellites, are 22,000 miles in altitude. Now, if you actually believe that the really quite generic satellite dishes attached to the side of your house are communicating with a satellite that's 22,000 miles away, then, you know, I've got a bridge that I'd love to sell you.
Grande sapo.
There's your communication satellites, folks. I mean, really, though, like, how much would all this cost? Because I know it costs a pretty good penny just to launch a weather balloon with basically nothing on it. I mean, this stuff seems to be very sophisticated, doesn't it?
Alguém tem uma faca aí na cinta? Até falar esse bicho pra lá. Vamos puxar ele pra lá? Quero só a corda. Vamos puxar ele pra lá? Não, tira ele. What was your role with
Okay, I'll skip this one here. Well, actually, you know, it's worth watching, man. It really is. So this is I'll set this up a little bit. This is Antiques Roadshow, which I really love that show. But I'll let this guy tell his story and see how much this little bit of junk is worth.
I was in quality control. I tested everything before the astronauts would come in the spacecraft, and that's what I'm doing in that one picture there. I'm firing these rockets right here on the service module. This is the Apollo without the first and second stage rocket.
Now, and I will mention that this guy doesn't claim to be an astronaut. I'm 100% convinced that he really believes that they went to space in the rocket, and he probably did sit there and test these things. But you know, just because he believes it doesn't mean that it's true, and just because we're saying that NASA fakes space doesn't necessarily mean that we're calling this guy in particular, or anybody else like him, a liar. Really, it's only up to the astronauts that are necessarily liars, and maybe a few key people at high up positions at NASA are lying. And the way that they get away with this is compartmentalization. They basically have many people working in very small teams, and they don't the people that are working in the lower levels don't understand the big picture of things, and you know, the people that work for NASA on the ground are certainly not going into space, so they're probably not liars.
How did you acquire this particular model?
Oh, it was given to me years ago. I just earned it, and then so I just started getting all the astronauts to sign it.
You've captured 15 astronaut signatures on the capsule portion of this.
Right.
And so you were friends with them all? And
I was good friends with them. I met them in the early 60s. We had to go through classes together, so I got to know them on a personal basis. And they're crazy guys, so we had a lot of fun.
I bet they are crazy.
Okay, and then this was a North American Aviation Apollo spacecraft model. It's the executive model is what it's referred to as.
And then we built it to their specifications.
Okay, now let's talk about this burnt up sticker.
What happens is when the spacecraft would come back to Downey, we would strip them all down, take all this stuff off them, and make them pretty. And so this arrow, which is right here, they were scraping all this stuff off. They were throwing it away in a big pile, so I just gave it to me. This label was, another guy gave that to me, and he gave it to me because I was the final.
Now, I've got a little bit of a question about this whole anecdote. And I believe the guy. I believe that his story is true as far as he knows. But in terms of like unknown things in space, like radiation, or if you've ever watched science fiction movies, you know, maybe like a little particle of space algae or something with a little bit of alien DNA on it, wouldn't they have wanted to quarantine this sort of thing and prevent it from getting into the hands of every Joe Schmo out there? It doesn't really match the sorts of like the stringent code that NASA likes to portray that they have about you know, cordoning off any potential biological or radiation hazards from spacecraft. But no, they just threw it in a pile and let pretty much anybody that was working in the warehouse walk home with it.
person to stamp saying that, hey, we got a good product. This is the serial number 107. So we called it 107, and then when it went to the Cape, it became Apollo 11 in this case.
So that's the serial number sticker.
Yes.
Off of the Apollo 11 command module.
Yes.
You realize that space nerds everywhere are going crazy right now.
Start videos you make. Does everybody know that you can't show these again? You stop showing these things right now.
Well, I hope so.
Have you ever had it appraised, or you have any clue as to what these things might be worth?
None at all.
Space stuff is hot. So the first thing I want to talk about is the jacket. So that was your jacket. You paid $40 for it.
Yes.
You just don't see these. If I estimated at auction today, I would guess it would sell for between $3,000 and $5,000.
Okay.
This model is the executive model. They have come up at auction before. They have not come up with the signatures that you have. We see there's Walt Cunningham, there's Buzz Aldrin. Right up here, ever so faint, is Neil Armstrong.
Yes.
We see Alan Shepard. Alan's one of the most well-known astronauts, but his signature's not worth that much because he signed so much stuff.
He's a signature whore.
It's fantastic. So if we estimated this at auction today, I think conservatively it would carry an estimate between $20,000 and $30,000.
Okay. I don't know if I really wanted to know that. It just sits in my man cave.
That's a nice thing to have in the man cave.
Yes, yes.
We have the rescue sticker, and then this was the serial number label off the inside of the capsule door. If we offered the two stickers together, you would see those with an estimate of between $30,000 and $50,000.
Okay. I'm donating this to my niece, so she'll be happy to hear that.
The total here would be between $53,000 and $85,000.
That's amazing.
So for this little bit of junk, the jacket, the two stickers, and the this mock-up model with the signatures on it, wow. At auction, wow. Space nerds everywhere are going crazy.
Look down here. Hey, the Earth is down here. Oh, yeah. Okay. So I get back and do some more things. And I had another rest period.
Well, you're talking to the wrong guy. Why don't you talk to the administrator at NASA? We're passengers. We're guys going on a flight.
So this time I took one foot out and did a little agility, and I looked. Uh-oh. The Earth's not down. Oh, there it is, up there.
You're the one who said you walked on the moon when you didn't. Calling the kettle black, if I ever thought of it. Saying I misrepresented myself. Away from me. You're a coward and a liar and a thief.
Oh, he really got it. He really got his ass.
It's humans out here. It's humans on the frontier. It's humans out there. It's humans out here. It's humans on the frontier. Why don't you just put the end to the record in the argument and put your hand on the Bible, swear to God you walked on the moon.
Mr. Sibrel, knowing you, that's probably a fake Bible.
When I opened the hatch, I mean, I had the whole universe in front of me. It was spectacular. I mean, the shadows in around. I don't give a damn about all that shit.
Of course, I don't hit people, but you're going to be on the deck unless you get
I'm heading out. I appreciate it.
and get the hell out of my house.
Well, take your stuff and get the fuck out. Why don't you quote me and say it's bullshit?
You want me to knock you in the head?
Well, I want you to swear to God on the Bible that you walked on the moon.
Okay.
If you walked on the moon, we're given the opportunity to swear to God that you walked on the moon.
I'm going to give you the opportunity to get the hell knocked out of you if you don't leave me alone.
Watch him run off. He runs away. He literally runs away.
And they lie through their teeth, carrying on a hoax that is so outrageous that they're beyond. They couldn't cover it up. They were just too human.
Exactly. You can see on Neil Armstrong particularly. He doesn't want to lie. This guy just doesn't want to lie. No. He's looking down. just doesn't want to say anything. This is why he didn't give any interviews for the rest.
Yeah, so that was what I wanted to cover on that video. Oh no, actually it is not. There's more. There's actually more, because I'll tell you what, I could watch NASA liars and NASA astronauts lying all day. I mean, it's just written all over their face. If you know how to read body language, man, I'd love to see some body language experts specifically on this video. Let's see what they think about whether or not these guys are lying. Not on what they're saying, not on the fact that they disagree with most of the modern astronauts about whether or not they can see the stars, but just their body language, man. It is very, very obvious.
Look at that. Please do look at that, folks. YouTube video of the first Apollo crew to come back at press conference. It's really embarrassing. I mean, it's just embarrassing. The lie was so big that they really couldn't fake it that well. It was too much for them.
And I saw this footage. It's dated by an atomic clock 3 days into the flight. All the astronauts are identified, and they're there putting the transparency over the window. They're clearly pretending to be halfway to the moon when they're not halfway to the moon.
That is bullshit. I don't care what you say. I went to the moon and back, and everyone that's a scientist knows it. Now, if you want to not believe it, it's okay, you know? It's okay. It's a better story. It just happens to be a lie, that's all.
Would you swear to on the Bible that you walked on the moon?
I'm not going to do it because I'll do it over here. I won't do it on your camera.
Well, why not?
Because it just isn't an appropriate thing to do.
Well,
but you're an asshole to do that. You're the same guys, just different guys that did the other person I told you about.
Well, would you put your hand on, if you walked on the moon, here's the opportunity to set the record straight. To put your left hand on the Bible.
Left hand.
Raise your right hand.
Okay.
And you realize this can be used as a video deposition in the future. And if you lie, you'll be guilty of perjury.
I understand that.
Okay. Say your name.
My name is Alan Bean.
I swear to God and affirm.
I swear to God and affirm.
Under penalty of perjury.
Under penalty of perjury?
Treason?
Treason? No, not treason.
No, not treason. Oh, that is so funny. Like, oh.
Treason has nothing to do with it. Let me rephrase this and say, I've got my hand on the Bible. I went to the moon. I walked on the moon. All the other people that you think are people that NASA says went to the moon and walked on the moon.
But you won't
go to the moon and walk on the moon.
You won't say under penalty of treason.
What's treasonous?
That's doing something fraudulent to the taxpayers.
That's crap.
Well, what
that
about
isn't
under penalty of eternal damnation?
Under penalty of eternal damnation.
He won't say treason, though. He won't say treason.
And under penalty of treason.
Treason is when you sell out your country.
Well, if you used $135 billion to not go to the moon.
That's still not treason. Treason is if you tell secrets to another thing. I've said enough. Now you can use that and say, well, you didn't say something else. No. I know how people are. It's okay. Well, take your stuff and get the fuck out.
Like a boss.
So yeah, that was what I wanted to cover there. But you know what? Maybe is there even more? Let's see. I think there might be a couple more things right here at the tail end. Let's just check it out.
Then you sort of poke your head out, flip around, and you take a look around, and you know it's really a holy moly kind of moment.
That was when I first learned, I think, the definition of what it truly is to be alone.
Being in space, being in Earth orbit, floating, is truly a magical experience.
It means an exciting day. It means it's a day that it's going to be a lot of work, but very rewarding work.
$10 million gone. And you know NASA fails like this all the time, and we just keep shoveling money at them. Keep on shoveling that money at them, right? So a couple more things now. During that, I think it was Ed White portion of the interview. Bart Sibrel, who was the guy making them all swear on the Bible, as many of you guys already know. There's a huge discrepancy about the whole Van Allen radiation belts thing. So like according to the Ball Earth model, the Van Allen radiation belts are something like 1,000 miles in altitude up to like 5,000 miles in altitude or something like that. And so in order to travel to the moon, you would have to pass directly through the Van Allen radiation belts. Now, of course, the astronauts, when he's asked specifically what about the Van Allen radiation belts, he says, well, I don't think we went through them. And it's like, well, you have to go through them if you went to the moon. And he's like, oh, well, then we did go right through them. The thing is a few years ago, I think it was on a Gemini spacecraft, if I'm not mistaken, maybe it was a different one, but the astronauts that got about 300 miles in altitude lower than the lowest Van Allen radiation belt, they claimed that they could see basically stars with their eyes closed. And they claimed that it was the radiation from the Van Allen belts passing through their retinas, even through their closed eyelids, giving them the illusion of seeing stars with their eyes closed. So wouldn't you think that the Apollo astronauts would have noticed such a thing when passing not just 300 miles shy of the Van Allen radiation belts, but passing all the way through all of them? Don't you think they would have noticed such a thing as constantly seeing stars with their eyes closed? So it's a huge discrepancy. I mean, you catch these guys, if you just do a little bit of critical investigation, critical thinking, skeptical investigation of what they're saying, there's contradictions all over the place. I mean, these people are clearly lying. I mean, it's very, very obvious. But, and, you know, we've got air bubbles in space. I think I actually did cover a few air bubbles in space on this very video here, so I'll play a clip of that. Hopefully you guys don't mind the clips, but I'm having fun with it, so hopefully y'all's is too. Excuse me. So this is, I believe, the
first
Chinese.
Task when he is outside is to transfer some experimental materials.
You see the little bits of stuff flying off of or flying out, and this is the very clip where you will see air bubbles coming out of his helmet.
Module. Well, we see, drive you down. Is to transfer some experimental materials to the module. Well, we see, drive you down. And we can.
So the first thing I'm going to zoom in on here is this appears to be a chroma key glitch to me. Let's invert that. You can see right in the corner where the paneling sort of meets the craft itself. It's a wide angle at the top. You can just see throughout the whole video, you see that chroma key glitching going on. And another thing you see throughout this video is air bubbles in space coming out of their helmets and coming out of the craft. So this clearly demonstrates that space is fake, even in China.
So there you go. There's an example of air bubbles on a spacewalk, which, you know, again, that proves that they're shooting this in an underwater tank with a mock-up of their spacecraft in the underwater tank. Pretty low budget when you're dealing with, you know, multiple tens of millions of dollars a day in budget. I mean, you could I mean, hell, they made the Lord of the Rings trilogy for $300 million. And that's a pretty awesome movie, right? Pretty convincing special effects. Well, you know, NASA gobbles up $300 million in what, like 6 days? So basically, NASA could produce the Lord of the Rings trilogy every week and still have money to spare. I mean, that's the level of you know, sophistication and the level of budget that we're talking about here. And you know, this video here, I recommend watch through it because here's another hand. We'll do this hand glitch because I've got it on my list of things to talk about here. This is the most obvious astronaut hand glitch I've ever seen. This is on an interior shot of the ISS, and it proves that they're using some sort of chroma keying and CGI technology to achieve these interior shots. Look, his hand is going right through the pole, or the pole is going through his hand.
So here you've got this astrolayer allegedly orbiting around the Earth in space, and he's holding on to this pole to brace himself, and of course the pole is going directly square through the palm of his hand. This is clearly a glitch in their CGI, whatever trickery they're using to fool people into thinking that they're actually up in space and weightless. Unable to really fake how he's grabbing onto that pole, they just stick it right through his hand. Nobody'll notice, just stick it right through his hand. I mean, give me a damn break here. In this video here, you can see Liarnauts clearly grabbing a hold of one another's harness wires in order to stabilize each other. I'll reverse that clip a bit so you can see that he's clearly not grabbing onto anything that's supposed to be there. He's grabbing onto something invisible, but you can tell that there is a reaction between the guy wearing the blue and the other guy's hand. Something's going on here, but we're not able to see it, either because of some sort of chroma key, CGI, green screening, something like that. But yet another instance of NASA fakery. Let's not forget this guy, clearly on wires, flying around in the background of the ISS. Should I say the LISS? I would say this here is pretty good evidence of NASA using some sort of CGI or virtual reality to fake their live stream stuff. In that clip, it really looks like the guy is supposed to be grabbing the hat, and for whatever reason the animators failed to complete the sequence, so he's sort of grabbing and placing nothing to the side. Okay, this clip really doesn't seem like much, but if you look a little deeper into it, it shows that they're using some sort of a technology beyond simple video editing. They're using a green screen. As you can see, she apparently grabs this item, this object that's supposed to be in the shot with her after she grabs it, and she plays around with it later on. But in order to get it to seem to appear like that, they would have either had to take one shot of her without the little monster thing in the shot and have her moving around and talking, and then cut the tape, cut the camera, place the thing there in the shot, and then have her try to stand as still as possible between changing the scenery, and have her grab that object as fluidly as possible. Now, unless you got it perfect, cut it to exactly where she was standing before you placed the object into the scene, you would get like a chopping effect. It would you'd be missing some frames of the animation. But you don't get any of that there, and in fact, when she's going to grab the object, the motion is very fluid, and you can tell that they didn't stop the camera, place the object in the set, then start rolling the camera to get that effect. They're using something else. And
yeah, it definitely appears like with this one and the one with the hat where he grabs onto nothing and places it to the side. It appears that they're using some sort of a virtual reality environment where they're manipulating fake objects. Like even the ball in her hand is probably not really there. The monster stuffed animal is probably not really there at all, which is why they're able to make it appear in the shot without switching takes. Like, I mean, do you know what I mean? Like, let's say if you're filming me and I'm standing here moving around, and then if I want something to appear in the shot with with real low tech, I would have to stand perfectly still, then you put the object in the scene, then you roll the tape, and while I'm still standing perfectly still, have my motion be fluid to grab that object. So that's not what they're doing. That would be the only way that they could do it if they were really up there in space. It would be low tech. I mean, they're not up there supposedly with high technology video manipulation stuff. That's not what they're supposedly up there for. Virtual reality type video manipulation, CGI stuff. They shouldn't be doing that at all. But this little clip here proves that they're doing something of that ilk. So, astronaut hand glitches, astronauts grabbing objects that don't exist and placing them to the side, and then stuffed animal objects appearing in the shot perfectly fluidly without any sort of cut and retake of the shot. So
the fact that she's able to move fluidly while the thing's appearing is a testament to that fact.
Oh, and here's this will be the final astronaut glitch one that we look at because it's just a whopper. Peer, what's going on here? Danger, Will Robinson. I think they're going into a nebula. Maybe it's the Jack-o'-lantern nebula, right? So, what I'm going to do real quick for anybody that missed the beginning, I'm going to play this Galaxy of Horrors trailer again because well, it's pretty funny. And you know what? I'd rather do it on YouTube because this website is just terrible. So let's put it on YouTube. This was released yesterday by NASA just in time for Halloween. So just going to set it up like that. Or is it horrors? It's horrors. Whoops. And again, not to confuse it with the Canadian movie Galaxy of Horrors, the same title that came out in 2017. This is brand new from NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory, JPL, or Jack Parsons Laboratory, as you know, 1 day ago. So just in time for Halloween. And you know, you could read a little bit into what they're saying here, and it is a bit ominous. I mean, just listen to it. I won't interrupt this, but here we go. Very ominous stuff, even though it is a bit tongue-in-cheek.
The night sky, full of stars. For eons, human beings have gazed up at its tranquil beauty, taking solace in the peaceful stillness of this vast and eternal cosmic cornucopia. And yet, all the while, lurking beyond our solar system, among the billions of stars and the exoplanets that orbit them, is another sort of Milky Way altogether, a far more sinister space. A place only sophisticated space telescopes and imaging processes can reveal. A place of unequaled terrors. Come with us now, if you dare, and discover the Galaxy of Horrors. Feel the rains of terror, the killer you never see coming. With winds of up to 5,400 miles per hour and torrential rains of glass blowing sideways. The weather here is deadly, and don't let its cobalt blue color fool you. This hazy, blowtorched atmosphere is riddled with silicate particles, making this an unearthly death trap no mortal would dare want to face. Or discover the zombie worlds that exist in this most inhospitable corner of the galaxy, the Poltergeist planet, one of 3 dead planets shambling through the twisted magnetic fields of their corpse star Lich, which is itself the collapsed core of an exploded star. But despite its demise, this undead star spins twin beams of radiation that could incinerate a spaceship foolish enough to venture too close. Even if you could make it to the surface, your nightmares would continue as the radiation from the zombie star rains down on planet Poltergeist, as well as her neighboring dead worlds of Draugr and Phobitor, creating sickly irradiated auroras to light up your certain death. These are just a sampling of the terrible, unwelcoming worlds that inhabit our Galaxy of Horrors.
So I wonder how much that cost to make, because you know you got to pay NASA employees way more than regular people, right? So what did that cost? $10 million to make that 2-minute long video, right? So another thing I wanted to touch on real quick is the pictures of Earth from space and how they change over time, because you know globetards like Lyman Dan love to use pictures from NASA of the Earth from space as proof that the Earth has curvature. And yet, when you see images, if I can possibly find it again, when you see images like, let's see, here it is, right here. Images like this, and again, I wished I knew how to make this bigger, like, If I click on it again, does it go bigger or what? No, of course not. Oh, come on, slow-ass website. Yeah, let's just let it load for a minute. And if I can't get it, I'd like to get it big enough to where you can see it, but I'm sure most of you guys have already seen this image. But basically what you've got is from 1972, the image of the Earth, or the continents. The continents change over time, change size. So like this one here, you've got America, like there's Florida, there's like Texas right here, Gulf of Mexico right there. The United States is taking up, well, I don't know, what, about a third, a little bit less than a third of the entire globe. Now on this image here, the United States is taking up like what, maybe a 10th or a 15th of the entire this side of the globe. So like we're actually expected to believe that the continental landmass of the United States morphs in size over the course of 1997 to 2012. So that's what we're expected to believe, right? My goodness. So, anybody like Lyman Dan, or anybody that tells you that pictures of the Earth from space prove that the Earth is a globe, just show them this, man, because it shows that these are, first of all, even NASA admits they're all composites. However, they do claim that the first one from 1972, they claim that that was a real image. However, if if they could take real pictures of the Earth from space in 1972, then why do they have to make CGI composites in 2015? Right? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Technology does not work that way. Technology does not regress. It always, it at least stays the same and only can possibly get better. Technology doesn't just entropy, right? So that's about all that I had to cover today. I do want to check in on the comments, but I will say real quick that this video here is brought to you by Mario Kart Tour. I don't know if you guys know, but Mario Kart Tour is out there on iPhone or Android phones. It's free and it's an awesome game. They're not paying me to say this. I just need some more people to friend me on there so I can get some rubies. But if you've ever liked Mario Kart, man, Mario Kart Tour is free on Google Play Store and stuff. I definitely recommend checking out. It's the most awesome game I've played on a phone ever. So let me check in on the comments real quick, and I will just mention real fast that if you'd like to support this channel, it would be greatly appreciated, and you can do so through PayPal or Patreon, and I'll put links in the description. So let me check in on the chat. Good servant, thanks for the super chat, sir. Let me just see if there's any other super chats I should cover. Doesn't look like it. And yeah, so I do want to thank you guys for hanging out. I hope you enjoyed the show here, and I will have more coming on the way. I think tomorrow I'm going to do another chapter of the audio